Hello, welcome in to another edition of Chi Time with me, Clara Apollo, here on Chi Time TV, but also on UK Health Radio and on podcast as well. And this is the show about your natural energy, your vitality, your chi. And I invite in a variety of guests to speak around this topic because, as you know, energy is everything and everything is energy, or it might be the other way around, but you get the gist. And my guest here on this episode is John C. Parkin, and it's from talking with him before, I know that that's kind of the approach that he has as well. So John is an author of the profane Eff-it books. You might have heard of them, and a retreat facilitator and all-round good guy and Wayward Taoist, I believe, as well, which we'll talk to him about too. So welcome into Chi Time, John.
Thank you, Clara. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, you're so welcome. So last time we had a chat was for the One Chi Hub, which is the collective of Qigong teachers in the UK, which you can find out more about on onechi.org. And I had 5 particular questions for you, and you can indeed see this interview. It's on the One Chi channel on YouTube, and we really did well sticking to the questions within reason. But John is a wonderfully contrary yin-yang master and is just so great to talk with, because I just don't know where the conversation is going to go to. But I did wonder about starting at the beginning, because it's kind of a good place to start, with the topic of Qigong and how you were introduced to it. What was happening in your life? How did you come across Qigong? What was going on there, John?
I have to go back to when I was about, 21, really, and I wasn't very well. I suffered from allergies and the consequent effect on my skin and my lungs. Basically, asthma and eczema is what I had.
Oh, right.
So I really wasn't well, and I felt sick a lot. I had trouble sleeping. And I realized that stress was a real problem, and so I got some relaxation tapes. It's like I can picture them now, but I get a double cassette, and I stuck these in. I'd lie on the bed, and I'd listen to these tapes, and it was a progressive relaxation. So it'd take you, you'd clench your fist and then relax, and you clench your forearm and relax, and you do that, and I loved it. It would really relax me. And what I noticed after a bit was that when I really relaxed, I felt something, this kind of tingly feeling, and I really liked it. And I can't remember how long now, it's a long time ago, but after a while I didn't have to do any of the progressive stuff or the tensing stuff or anything. I just had to imagine this tingly feeling, that feeling that I was getting, spreading around my body until my whole body was buzzing, like I was in a warm bath. And that became my practice. So my practice became just lying down without the tapes after a while, and then getting this feeling, and then spreading it around my body. And it was lovely. I just became quite happy doing this thing, and it did help me. I then started to use it as I was wandering around and everything else. And I was invited, and I can't remember exactly when, but maybe a month or 2 after this, I was invited by my then girlfriend's mother to go to a Tai Chi class in Windsor. And I went along to this, and the teacher did some Qigong at the end, but she was talking about this thing called Qi. And Qi, it feels different to different people, but it's like more like, it's kind of like a tingling, and there's a magnetic. And I went, oh my goodness, that's what I found. And it was amazing. So to then find out that there was a whole discipline and philosophy in the Chinese, the Qigong and the Tai Chi stuff around this thing that I thought I was just playing with myself, was it blew me away, really. Blew me away. I could talk for ages about that time, but it really was a kind of very exciting discovery for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the fact that it had already presented itself to you. You already noticed something going on
Yeah,
before you were introduced to what it was called or what it was. So it's like
yeah.
almost like, yeah, very interesting. So what do you feel that Qigong has opened up for you then over there? What is it, like 30 years you've been
Yeah,
playing
this
this
is
way?
I'm 54. So yeah, 33 years or something. Yeah.
So what has it really opened up for you in your life from then?
Uh well, it really helped me in terms of my health at a very basic level. And um I mean it's always been there in the background. It's funny now. I mean, I've spent more years on this planet being aware of my chi than I have not. And I'd say I could argue as well that as a kid, I was aware of it, because I'm now remembering that I used to do my little kind of playground trick was to imagine that I had energy, coming out of my hands, and I'd heal people and I'd do all that stuff. So, but that
Cool.
was the first time when I was 21, I kind of really felt it in the whole body. But yeah, it's been the backdrop to everything. And I think not just the practice of it and the feeling of it, but the philosophy. And again, I'm interested always in separating my experience of it from anything that I learn or understand, or the theory of it. So even the yin yang stuff. But my sense, I mean, an example would be my sense of it is the kind of flowing nature of it, which, I mean, the Taoist side of it, but the kind of, when you relax, the flowing happens naturally. And how can I let that happen and let that flow happen? At a very basic level, that's Qigong for me, to kind of sit back and allow it to flow. And that really works in life. So that kind of that connection between one's experience, personal experience of a practice like this, and then how life is led. So when you said it, life is chi, and everything is chi, and chi is everything. And I like it, and I always like it in very practical
Mm.
aspects as well. It's how chi works in business, and how chi works in every aspect of our lives. And I've always I like to see the I talk about seeing the chi of a situation, or feeling the chi of a situation, any situation, business situation, family dynamics, maybe going to getting on a plane or something. It's like, what's the chi of this? What's required here? So that's it. It's the kind of backdrop to everything.
So do you think this is because the chi is the truth of the situation? It is the language of the universe that's running through everything. And so it's kind of got your back because that's what you're asking. What is the chi here? What is this doing? What is this, how is this being?
At some level, yes, yeah, and it's interesting you use the word truth as well, because I mean, I do, when we're teaching retreats, I use quite a lot of kind of muscle testing, kinesiology,
Okay.
which I use to basically just test people's chi, which is how I interpret it. Is when your chi is flowing, you're stronger. So you can test lots of qigong postures, actually. So I love doing this when I first teach people qigong. You can test what happens when you tuck your tail under, and when I don't know, when you've got your feet in a certain position, so they're not, you're not splaying your toes out. You can actually test it, muscle test it, and you see that somebody is stronger just by changing the position of their feet. And so that's all good. You can test the chi flow, and the strength through the strength. But what's really, really interesting to me is that that muscle testing tests truth.
Yes.
So you're stronger if you say, if I said my name is John,
Yeah.
I would be stronger than if I said my name is Peter, because my name is John, it's not Peter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm literally stronger, and I'm stronger, I think, because the chi is harmonious and flowing, because it's responding to the truth of the situation. So, and that thing I've spent a lot of time exploring and thinking about, because it's astonishing. What it means to me is, if we don't live in truth, if we don't speak our truth, if we don't live in truth, if we're kind of saying, oh yeah, I'm fine when we're not fine, or if we hate our job and we don't say it, any aspect of our lives where we're not in truth means we've got a distortion of our chi, and we're going to be weaker, and we'll probably get sick at some point if we live out of sync with the truth. So I love it that you mentioned truth, because that's bang on from where I come from. Yeah.
Well, I love that perspective that you've given us here on Chi Time. John C. Parkin is with us talking the Eff-it truth policy. So, and so on your retreats, and the way that you've got to use this phrase, which clearly we can't actually speak on UK Health Radio here because it is a profanity, but when any of us would say Eff-it to something,
yes,
does that kind of, this sort of helps any kind of build up tension to sort of drop back into the truth of the situation? Is that what you think happens?
Yeah, I think when in the Taoist and Qi terms, I think if we imagine most of us are living based on what we think we should be doing, on what we ought to be doing, on what other people expect of us, and we're not. So we're at some level we're tuned in to the outside world and what the outside world wants and expects of us. And a lot of the practice with the Eff-it for us is, and Qigong in the end, is tuning into what's inside. So when I tune into my desires and my chi and what's needed here, then things start to work. But how do you get from placing so much importance on what's out there to placing more importance on what's in here? You say Eff-it, that doesn't matter. I don't care what you think. Yeah, I don't care about your rules. What's important is this, what's going on here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And that macrocosm and microcosm approach as well. You know, if we're concerned about the outside world and we want to make changes and shifts and we want to be the change we want to see, then we need to make the changes inside, don't we? Yeah. And the Qigong really helps us with that. But one of the other things that really helps, you were saying about coming out of this external obsession and coming more internal. It's like one needs courage to do this, and an inspiration to do that. And I don't know about you, but I find that certain tracks, certain musical tunes help me to come back into this more an internal presencing of how I am right now, how I'm feeling. Do you find music helps you too?
I do. It has throughout my life. Yeah. And it's interesting about music, actually, because I use a lot of music on the retreats and when I do gigs. And I've only mentioned this to somebody 2 weeks ago for the first time, because I've been pretty good at choosing music to help people get to various states. Mm-hmm. And basically the right track makes the chi flow up my spine. It's a very particular, you get it too. It's a very particular feeling, isn't it?
Yes.
And it can happen with dance music, it can happen with guitar music. And when that happens, I know it's right for me and for people. So yeah, it really does help. It really does help.
And have you got a track that you'd like to share with us here on Chi Time, John?
Yeah, I'd love to be able to play early Genesis, I'll stress, track called Horizons. Is it Horizons or Horizon? I think it's Horizons. Yes, Horizons, which is a beautiful guitar track, and I loved as a kid. I think it was 72, so I was 5, and I was listening to this my dad was playing it in the car when we were driving around, and I've listened to it ever since, and it's beautiful. And do you want to talk about it after you've played it a little bit?
Stay in the role, John. Stay in the
I'll tell you. Well, maybe this allows everybody to look out for this. But I just listened to it earlier today, and I mean, it connects me with my heart so easily. This music, it's so emotional for me. No, there's no singing; it's just instrumental. But there's also use of the harmonics on a guitar where you just kind of tap the string. And that feels really chi-like to me. That's the bit that goes into the spirit somehow. So there's the kind of playing the proper strings in the track, which is kind of more earthy but emotional. But then it goes off into something else when it taps the harmonics. So I hope people can recognize the bits that are harmonics, the kind of slightly different sound on the guitar. but that's where it just moves into this kind of chi sense, as I was listening to today. So
Beautiful. Thank you, John. So here is early Genesis with the Horizons track from the Foxtrot album. And we'll be back with John C. Parkin after this with more chats about Wayward Taoism and Qigong and whatever we can slip into the next 15 minutes. So sit back, bask in this beauty, and we'll come back afterwards. So you're here on Chi Time with me, Clara Apollo, on UK Health Radio. And just before those station messages was that beautiful track by Genesis called Horizons, as chosen by my guest here, John C. Parkin. So we're talking about Qigong and energy in general. And just before that, the break, just before the track, we were talking about how we can come out of the obsession with the outside world and become more intrigued, I think, more curious about what's happening inside us. And, you know, some of the folk that come through my training and treatments that I do, often it's the fear of going in there that stops people, because when they actually go in there, when they're guided in there, like, oh, it wasn't what I expected. Do you find that as well, that it's the fear piece rather than what it actually is that stops people from, or maybe arrests their curiosity?
What, in terms of the chi, or a kind of the inner emotional life?
Well, it is that, isn't it? It's that, am I going to go internal here? Or is it scary? It's easier to just be distracted, isn't it? Because what am I going to find? I've got,
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, over the last 20 years, people are quite relieved when they do some Qigong, because a lot of the work that we do is strong on the emotions and looking at our emotional life. So when we get out, usually outside, and do some gentle movement and Qigong, it's quite a relief, because it's to that emotional thing. So I suppose we've got that contrast going on, which is in the end all the same work, but generally people when they stand and do Qigong, it's like, oh, I like this.
yeah, well, it takes them out of their minds, and in a way it's a way in, isn't it? It's a way into the internal.
It's a different way into to the inner world, rather than just through the psyche.
Right. And because there's movement and flow, there's a captivation here of a way of like, oh, interesting how my hand is moving through the air, or how I'm noticing a flow up my spine, or wherever. There's a compassion for the human condition as well, and a marvel at the miracle of all this going on. May not have been noticed before.
No, that's true. It's true. I mean, we've had people on retreats just at the emotional level who don't really know what they feel emotionally. So to actually open up a world where, just even beyond the emotion, there's a sensory world that hasn't been experienced before. I mean, my favorite thing still with Qigong is doing the the feeling the chi between the hands. Yes. And to have a group of 20 people, and I'm going to resolve now not to say again, because I think I said it twice then, and I don't like it when I hear people saying so I'm going to stop saying but yeah.
But
when people, 14 people out of the 20 have not experienced that before, and it's like, I did it again. When I ask, what are you feeling, and the experiences of the magnetic feeling, the tingling, it feels like a magnet between I just love it, because they're always very excited, and that's the excitement I had at the beginning and still have. So yeah, love that.
Me too. When people first are turned on to their chi, it's exhilarating. Yeah. So maybe when you're listening or watching, you might like to exactly do that. You might have already played like this before, but it is being in a seated comfortable position or standing comfortable position, so you are relaxed, and then shaking your arms just to make sure they are releasing tension, and then letting the palms come together in front of your belly, usually in front of your belly. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So if you're watching, you can see what I'm doing here. Maybe John will do it along with me. What do you reckon,
Yeah,
John?
well, yeah, sure.
Yeah. But if you're listening, we're just letting our palms face each other and kind of gently bouncing them in, just kind of getting a feeling of the air between the palms and just kind of being calm with this, being intrigued by something or other. Anything you'd like to add there, John?
Yeah, just to see, yeah, as you said, intrigued, just to see what's there, or to feel what's there. And it's good to have your eyes closed, actually,
Mm.
and to notice. Or after really is noticing. There's no kind of right or wrong as to what's there. And even if there's nothing felt, that's fine. It kind of comes after a couple of times. But just to see, just to feel what there is and to see what there is, and then to start to put some words to it. So the words, maybe words that we haven't used already might be there, like warmth. That might be another one. But any words that people want to put to that.
Yeah, I kind of feel this softness here today and a circulation.
Yeah.
But one of the things that came from this exploration of the hands, picking up the sensations of the chi, was that why is this we do this with our hands? Why is it we got the chi between my hands and now, oh, it's very precious, I better not let that go. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. If the chi is in my hands and the chi is essentially runs around the circulatory system and the meridian lines, then surely it's going on in my whole body. So I'm just using my hands as the sensory perception piece because we've got a large nervous supply, good blood supply here. So that's where we're going to pick it up, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember there's one expression in Chinese translated to be something like the hands are the flags of qi.
Oh, lovely.
In other words, you pick up the breath of the air of qi via the hands, like we do with a kind of windsock or a flag on a bridge or something. So it picks up. So one of the first places we're going to feel qi is in the hands, but we can feel the strength of it all over the body after a while. It's still, I mean, it's just still so easy. I still myself love getting straight there and feeling the chi there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And it's something like you mentioned on your interview on the One Chi YouTube, where you were saying that you tune in with your chi to see how calm you are, see how stressed you are, and that if you can't tune into it, there's some stepping back that needs to happen.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I've been doing that for a long time when I wasn't in those, when I was 21, 22, and I wasn't very well. That was a main way that I used Qi and Qigong myself, which was to constantly tune in and see what was there. I'm going to mention Stephen, the Barefoot Doctor, as well now, because he would talk about he was very interested, particularly in the last few years of his life, about the Qi in the back.
Yes.
So to tune in particular to the back
Always
is really good. Yeah.
And it helps when we drop our awareness into the back of us. Not only do we then inhabit our long, strong spine,
Yeah.
so we feel how supported we are. We
Yeah.
also connect in with the ancestors, but we step back from the drama of everything in front, don't we? We become
Beautiful.
the witness bearer.
Yes.
We can then watch, and when we're watching what happens, there's this space between somehow, and that gives us a bit of respite from all that reactionary stuff, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, beautifully put. And it's we're slightly back from the drama, aren't we? We're a step back from the drama, which is nice without dissociating. There's a risk with some of these things of dissociating from the shit, the difficult stuff. There's a risk. There is a risk of dissociating from the really difficult stuff, but generally speaking, to have that awareness back as well can be really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned Barefoot Stephen, because did he coin the phrase Wayward Taoism?
I think he did. And certainly describes his version of, or his interpretation of Taoism.
Well, I saw that he'd written somewhere that what he meant by that was that if one was on the pathway of being a wayward Taoist, we were actually wards of the way. So we were taking care of the way, and I really
Ah,
like that.
yeah, I mean that is nice, but it does express his wayward quality, which was a
Yes.
similar contrarian quality to mine, really. And yeah.
So for people listening or watching, what do we mean by being a wayward Taoist? Why is this different from being a traditional Taoist?
I mean, I've always interpreted that as not being dogmatic about any aspects of this philosophy, and interpreting it and taking it as we need to. Really, I don't mean adapting it to our own purposes, but just, I mean, it's the way I teach Qigong as well. I have lots of students over the years, and whenever anybody they've done like a week with me or a few days with me, and they go elsewhere and they find other teachers that can teach them locally, for example, they always say, "Oh, you teach it very differently to anybody else."
Yeah.
And that would, in particular, would be about how I'm not specific about postures, for example, about exactly how the angles of certain things, and it's more about the feeling of it. So that for me is I interpret uh, Taoism in a way that really works in my life, and I don't stick by any rules of any teaching or any dogmatic ideas, because it's great. There's no kind of overseeing organization, or I don't know what they're called in the UK. I know what they're called in Italy, but there's no kind of high church saying this is how you teach these things. I love to find how it works for me and then share that with people, and that's both for the Qigong and for Taoism as well. Whenever I'm talking about Taoism, it's
Totally.
brilliant, isn't it? It's brilliant. We're just like explorers. We're chi naughts or something going out there, and that's that's what I love about this. I mean, I spent like 2 years, like 10 years ago, 2 years just standing every day in a kind of Zhamzhong, standing
Wow.
like a tree posture. And my intention, or my kind of exploration, was what's really here beyond what I think is here about meridians and everything else. What am I really experiencing here?
Yeah.
Beyond any ideas, beyond knowledge that there's a body here with bones and blood and everything else. When I've got my eyes closed and I'm just standing in the chi, what's here? And what emerged from that was, my goodness, my chi body is, because I had no pains in my body, so my chi body is actually the most real thing to me.
Mm.
It's more real than the feeling of my actual body. And it was also slightly further forward than my actual body, which may be something about practice in the back, but that's what it felt like. So what I felt is like a kind of a energy body here, and it was more real than the physical body. So that's what excites me. It's like exploring it.
Exploring, and it's your experience. Whereas if you'd read something or been
Yeah,
told this is what you're meant to experience, you'd
yeah,
have gone, how do I do that? But you gave space for your
yeah,
own experience. And that, as facilitators of the Qigong teachings,
yeah,
that is our job, I feel, to encourage others to become intrepid chi explorers and go in and go, well, what is here for me?
yeah.
What is already here? What is my experience? And then to find words to vocalize it, because then it really brings it home, doesn't it? When you can journal about it or share with others. And
It does, yeah, yeah, and it's that's why it's really nice to do it in groups with a few other people, so that we can share our experience. And I mean, even down to the thing of like, if well, I know enough about the meridian system and how the organs work, but that knowledge doesn't serve me actually in any way in my qigong practice, because I'm not. I mean, my wife Gaia, when she drinks Chinese tea, she's very good with teas. She can feel her meridians lighting up with different teas,
mm,
but generally speaking, I don't feel my different meridians lighting up. I feel the chi. I feel the field, really,
yes,
around my body. I feel movements within my body when I'm really doing the internal stuff, or I feel this kind of feeling. So that's more real to me than both my physical body or the ideas of what chi is and what chi does from the books or from a teacher. Yeah.
Got it. Absolutely real for you. So, do
Mm.
you feel that Taoism is really helpful for the 21st century lifestyle for people to get into the philosophy of nature and to the Tao Te Ching and the Tao that can be named is not the real Tao and all of that stuff? Do you think it's helpful for us now in where we are in these uncertain times?
Yeah, I'm guessing as helpful as it's ever been, and if not
Yeah.
more, I suppose, because maybe what we have done as the human race is detached even more from nature. And at some level, I mean, I'd always describe it as being in touch with nature and our nature,
Mm.
being in tune with it, with nature and our nature, and that's what industrialization and modern civilization, I suppose, has done in many ways, has detached us from that. So, to go back to a more natural way, where we're in touch with natural ways, is going to be most likely essential for our own survival.
Well, I think so. It's like
Yeah,
our essential nature is
yeah,
so fundamentally linked with nature of the earth and the planet that we're
yeah,
on that
yeah,
we're always going to be drawn back to it. It has the answers, it has the
yeah,
balancing act there. If we get into this metaverse thing that is being
yeah,
touted as being the next thing, I mean, that's how far away from nature you're going there,
yeah,
and what's going to happen to the human psyche to be
yeah.
that detached from nature.
It's true. I mean, psychologically, I see even so in social media how it's affecting young people, and
Mm.
certainly people's psychological setup is changing because of the digital media that we're using. So
For sure.
yes, it's going to be. But then the other thing is there's a degree of having to sit back and see where things go naturally. So again, dogmatically, there's no dogma here. It's going to do its thing, really. I mean, I'd love it that most people. I mean, we've had it a bit with the pandemic, which is more we're kind of been forced back to a simpler, more local, more natural thing,
Mm-hmm.
depending, but generally speaking, I think, thinking more about caring for ourselves and local community and everything
Communities,
else.
yes.
Be great if that kind of carried on, but yeah, maybe we just swing back to the other way even stronger. So yeah, I have a
Well,
desire. It'd be lovely to see it, but it's always doing this, isn't it?
it is. It's the
I
yin
wave my hand
yang,
around.
the yin yang dance of the eternal polarities, finding that sweet spot balance
Yeah.
to witness it all from. Look, John, it's been a total pleasure and an intrigue to speak with you here. So, how can people find out more about where you are and what you've got going on?
Thanks, Clara. Simply, our thing is Eff-it mainly. So if people want to find out more, just typing that into a search engine, in particular Google, in full, with the full word, will actually find us 3 or 4 down the list, and then that takes people into the variety of things we do, including a little questionnaire, which is how Eff-it are you, which then also allows people to sign up. It signs people up so you get messages from us every week or so on this kind of subject, which is how chi works in life and how we can say Eff-it to relax and go with things as they are.
Mm, beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything that you would just like to add as we close up this edition of Chi Time, John?
Like what? Like an exercise or something, or
Or a thought or a
oh,
reframe? I mean, I know you've done a lot throughout. I just wonder if there's
yeah.
anything else that just we want to leave people with.
Okay. This thought comes straight to mind, which is, I mean, I've got a lot of drama going on in my life at the moment with sick parents and well, a variety of things, and yet I feel pretty calm actually. And so the practice in good times and bad times is we said about sitting back, to try to sit back a bit more and sense it. I mean, this in the end is this exercise that beautifully introduced people to the sensing the chi between the hands. At some level, that's kind of what our life is. It's like I feel like I'm in a body doing this with life, which is sensing the chi. what's the chi of this? Well, my parents. So this is happening with my parents. This is happening with business. This is happening with the world. This is happening with a pandemic. And how is that? That's a bit jagged. That's a bit difficult. Now that feels quite sweet. So yeah, my invitation then is to sit, whatever's going on, and we've all got a variety of things going on, to try and sit back a little bit, and as you said, as you sit back, to kind of come a little bit back from the drama and notice the drama from that position of, for me, it's a position of okayness, a kind of gentle okayness.
The balanced state feels just really normal. Nothing to write about, just balance. Look, John, thank you so much for being part of Chi Time. It's been a joy.
Thank you, Clara. It really has. Thank you.
I think it would be an idea to play a track by Barefoot Stephen to sound us out. So we'll do that. But just before then, if you've enjoyed listening to this show, then do tell your friends, or you may even like to watch it, as John and I have recorded this on video too, which you can see on my YouTube channel, Clara Apollo's Chi Time. And that is also the name of the podcast, which you can pick up on Spotify or iTunes or any other podcast platforms, but also on demand on UK Health Radio. The shows are always available here for you too. So next week, we're going to be back with Haroon Rabbani's going to be here. We're going to be talking about the earth and the soil and all sorts of yummy stuff like that. So until the next time, keep your chi up, my friends. And thank you so much for listening and watching Chi Time.